All right, good afternoon, sports fans. This is Sports Buzz with Mike Kravetz and myself, Harry Buzzatto. Sorry we got started a little bit late here. We're going to get started here now. It's 2:15. Our show usually starts at 2. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. So we're going to get started right off the bat with playoff baseball.
Something we haven't heard too often here in Pittsburgh,
No,
at least since I've been alive.
Not at all. Nor have I. But right around the corner, Pirates chasing the Cardinals right now. Mike, how do you feel about the Bucks?
I must say that coming off this 3-game series with the Cubs, they take 2 out of 3, clinch a playoff spot. Right now, they're 3 back of the Cardinals. It would be a miracle, pretty much, if they were to win the division.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way about that.
Because, the Pirates, they need to sweep Cincinnati and then have the Cardinals get swept by the Cubs in St. Louis. I don't see that happening really right now. But I want to focus primarily on the way the Pirates clinched a playoff spot in that first game against the Cubs. It was a pretty crazy game. The Pirates were up 2-1 after Starling Marte home run in the top of the 9th, and you got Grilli coming in, who he worked his way back up there to be in the closer role. They decided to let Melanson be back to the setup guy, and turns out with 2 outs, guy on first, Ryan Sweeney up to play for the Cubs, hits what was supposed to be just a single, turns out to be into a double. It bounces off Marlon Byrd's glove. Kutch gets it. He throws it in to Justin Morneau. Nice relay to Russell Martin for the last out, and that was the way the Pirates clinched a playoff spot, because the Cardinals would eventually beat the Nationals later that night.
Yeah, and definitely a very serendipitous thing for the Pirates there. So you mentioned Melanson and Grilli there as the closing pitchers for the Pirates. Melanson going through some struggles right now. Would you say? Or what do you think about the going into the playoffs with Melanson versus Grilli?
I think Hurdle made the right call with Grilli being the closer, just because Melanson, he did excellent when Grilli was on the disabled list. 12 out of 14 saves. The strikeouts, they weren't really there early part of the season when he was the setup guy, but when he took over that closer role, he started to get more, and he has the type of pitch that a closer should have, the cutter, and it was really effective. But since Grilli came back, I don't know if maybe something got in Melanson's head, now Grilli's back, he's wanting to work his way back up into being the closer. Maybe I got to perform a little bit better, amp up my game, and maybe it was dropping velocity on his pitches, and the hitters were seeing him better, and he just ended up getting, lost in the mix, because the Friday night game last weekend against the Reds, Pirates were up 5-2. Unfortunately, I was at that game. Everyone on their feet, ready, to raise the Jolly Roger once again.
You probably never heard PNC Park like that.
Oh no,
in your lifetime.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And Melanson gives up 3 runs, and the whole place just goes completely silent.
That's a shame. Well, disappointing series against the Reds this past weekend, and the series against the Cubs shaped up the way it did. How do you think the Pirates are going to do going with this last series coming up against Cincinnati and also into the playoffs, I suppose?
Well, they got to win 2 out of 3, obviously, to get the home game.
Yeah.
In the wild card
that's
round.
Obvious.
And I think for Burnett, he's going to be starting the first game of this series. He's got to put his foot down. He's a feisty pitcher.
He is a feisty pitcher.
And I hate to say it, but they can't take any crap from the Reds. The Reds have been getting into the Pirates' minds and in their heads ever since last year when Chapman hit McCutchen with that 100 mile per hour fastball.
Yeah.
So they just, they got to go in there and feel confident.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, listen, we're going to go to a break really quick, and we're going to come back, and we're going to finish up our discussion about the Pirates and get ourselves a little bit into the Pittsburgh Steelers and their troubles to start the season, because they are troubles. Absolutely. So we will be right back. You're listening to Sports Buzz with Harry and Mike. All right, we are back with Sports Buzz here on WPPJ, and we left you talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds. They're closing up their series this weekend.
Yeah, big one.
It's going to be a big one. What do you think?
Well, I actually do think the Pirates are going to win 2 out of 3.
Well, you made the statement before, and I'm pumped to hear you say that because honestly, the whole city of Pittsburgh is going to go crazy. Chances of catching the Cardinals slim.
Right.
I mean, the Cardinals are basically going to have to lose out.
Yeah. And then against the Cubs, I can't see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, the Cubs play the Pirates hard, but yeah, the Cardinals are an excellent baseball team. So playoffs. What do you think the playoff roster is going to look like for the Pittsburgh Pirates going into the first playoff run?
I know,
in over 20 years.
It's exciting. Obviously they're going to have, just for this one game, Liriano's going to be pitching. Now, for each round, their playoff roster can be set differently. So, I don't know if you want to kind of differentiate it from what you might have in the divisional series if you win the wild card game, or if you're just going to keep it throughout. But I think with this game, the bullpen, you carry 6 guys, and then off the bench, you bring in 7 guys. I think Travis Snyder, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this, he has come up huge for them in pinch hit situations. He had a few pinch hit home runs earlier in the year, games that I attended, and he just has a knack for getting the ball in play.
Absolutely.
And you compare his numbers to Garrett Jones, who will probably be coming off the bench at some point if they advance further in the playoffs. And even with Gabby Sanchez, I know you're going to have 2 left-handed outfielders on the bench with Jones and Snyder, and then Morneau's the starter. But, with Snyder, I just think he'll find a way to get you a big hit if you bring him up to the plate to pinch hit in the pitcher spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just gonna ask you about pitchers. Who do you close with in the wild card game? We were talking about Melanson and Grilly.
Yeah, you still got to go with Grilly because Melanson, I don't know where his head's at right now.
Yeah.
I know his struggles have been, not entirely his fault, the defense, Jordy Mercer making that one error play last weekend, but I just think you got to go with Grilly. He's the one that was the closer for the primary part of this whole season. Grilled cheese, I think, is going to get the job done.
Oh, yeah.
In the wild card game.
All right, well, you have the Pirates' success absolutely encompassing the city, but not only do you have the Pirates' success, but the woes of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, that's the downer so far.
Yeah, it's definitely the downer. So you have the Steelers and the Bears. What happened in the Steelers and the Bears game?
Well, as I watched this game Sunday night, I think I was watching 3 different games. First part, the Steelers were down 24-3. Turnovers were their problem. Ben with the costly fumbles, Felix Jones with a fumble, and the Bears capitalized on those turnovers.
Yeah.
But then in the second half of this game, the second part of this game, Steelers ended up making a game of it. They come back within 4, 27-23. And, we're finally seeing the offense move with Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he made some sick catches.
Yeah, one of the games of his career.
Absolutely.
And then in the final part of this game, the Steelers' defense had to come up with some big stops early in that fourth quarter, and they just couldn't. Jay Cutler connected on a 3rd and 10, a 3rd and 12, and then a 3rd and 5, and that's something that is the primary thing in this league. You have to stop teams on 3rd down, and once you can't do that, then you're not going to win too many games.
Yeah, I agree. I made the statement earlier, and a lot of my fellow sports junkies have been all over me about this. And I'm going to go ahead and make the statement anyway because it's a statement. It holds a lot of water in this guy's eyes. Ben Roethlisberger, I think, potentially could have perhaps the worst year of his career this year. Now, there's several things that come into that, obviously. You got the loss of Marquise Pouncey, which is humongous. You have the offensive line, and you have the offensive coordinator, and you have Big Ben's mindset altogether. Who do you think is to blame for that potentially happening? I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't.
Right. I would have to go with the offensive line.
I'm going to go with that, too, because Ben Roethlisberger, I think, right now is playing the best football he possibly can.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with the line. I'm gonna go with Todd Haley though, as well.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of people want him fired already, but last year.
Oh, in 3 seasons, first one in 13 13 years.
Yeah, since
just
2000.
to start out.
I mean, last year they were 6-3 at one point. Ben was talked about being, the MVP early on in that year, and then he got injured. So this offense has the capability of working. So I don't know, blaming Haley 100%. I don't think that's what you should do. But as a fan, I understand.
Yeah.
You want to point at the coordinator.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
But I think with Ben too, he has to be more careful with the ball.
Oh yeah.
Those fumbles in the Bears game, I know the guys are getting to him, defensive linemen, and that's the offensive line's fault. But if there's a guy coming after you, I know he likes to extend the play, and we've seen those great plays from him before. But when you continuously escape from the defensive lineman, there's a really good chance that you're only holding on to that ball with one hand, and all it takes is just one little swat or off the player's helmet to knock the ball out, and then you're just costing your team the game essentially.
So, you think any of this? Is getting to his head?
I think it is, because I heard yesterday, I was reading the paper, that the way he sounded, the reporters when they were asking him questions, that it doesn't feel like he thinks that this team's going to be able to resurrect this season.
And that's kind of tough to hear from Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
it's kind of tough to see it in your quarterback's eyes.
Yeah,
I mean, you got this is a guy who should be looked at as a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yes, definitely.
And he is top 10 at best this year.
Yeah,
and Ben Roethlisberger, ton of talent, nothing to show for it in this season so far. So they play the Vikings.
Yeah, in London.
Which,
a
bizarre venue.
Yeah, we could spend a whole other hour talking about that. I think it's just ridiculous.
You really?
Yeah, because you're never going to have a football team there, so why are you even going over there? And especially, you don't know how teams are going to be, what their records are going to be. And look, this is the worst case scenario. Both teams are 0-3.
Very, very bizarre. I mean, the league, at least, if you're going to do that, at least pick a team that's winning.
Yeah, I know you can't plan that, but maybe going to Canada. There's a chance, maybe they could have an expansion team there one day.
That is plausible.
But, going to London,
American football is very popular in Canada.
Yeah.
Absolutely popular. So, and yeah, they got cricket in London. They can deal with London. They can deal with cricket in London.
Yeah. But so what do you think with this game coming up? Do you think the Steelers will finally get their first win?
They have to.
Yeah.
They absolutely have to. The problem with that is that the Vikings absolutely have to get a win as well.
That's true.
I mean, you got two teams that are absolutely in desperation mode.
Yeah.
And
the one positive, though, I will say, that can give the Steelers a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
The Vikings' defense is 29th in the league right now. They're allowing over 400 yards per game.
I'm pretty pumped about that.
So, and they can't protect their quarterback either. He has as many sacks as Ben does. So,
well, I'm going to go ahead and make the statement then. I think the Steelers are going to win on Sunday.
Yeah.
I absolutely think it. Yeah. Let's see how that goes. So we're talking about quarterbacks, and just because, he's having an awesome year, I want to talk a little bit about Peyton Manning right now, and I made the statement before that Ben Roethlisberger could potentially have the worst year of his career because of those underlying factors. Now, Peyton Manning, do you think this could be potentially the best year of his career? The way he started, do you think he could keep this up?
I don't.
Really?
The reason being, I looked at their schedule, and they still got to go to Dallas. They still got to go to Indianapolis.
He tied. What record did he break?
Most amount of touchdowns in 3 games.
What was it? 13 touchdown passes?
12.
12.
And
okay.
Brady had 11 back in 2011.
Okay. All right. Well, that's. I'm a Peyton Manning fan and not a Tom Brady fan. So, so I was glad to see that guy take the front runner spot for that one.
But he's on pace for 64 touchdowns, and that would be unheard of, so I don't think that's going to happen. But
what if it did, though?
Guess what, though? If he didn't win the Super Bowl, though, this year, then obviously it would be a failure in his eyes.
Well, how far do you think they're going to get, the Broncos?
Well, my early season predictions, which are on my Sports Buzz blog, which will be parallel to this show, so you'll have to check that out as well.
Yeah, do it. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. I had the Broncos as my winner for the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah, I have them beating the Falcons. I just think that with the addition of Wes Welker, I know their running game is suspect, but hey, first 3 games, my prediction's looking pretty good. So
yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. All right, so anything else with the Steelers?
Yeah, I did want to talk about one thing. 0-3 teams. There's 6 remaining left in the NFL. Do you think the Steelers have the best chance out of these 6 teams?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the other teams that are 0-3.
Redskins,
The Redskins,
Giants,
the Giants.
Buccaneers,
Okay.
the Vikings, and the Jaguars.
The Giants, I like the Giants. I think that Eli Manning, he had a really bad game
Yeah, he did.
the other day.
7 sacks. Yeah.
That's miserable for
Yeah.
Eli Manning. And I think that Ben Roethlisberger absolutely has the fortitude to come back. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that absolutely. I think that of the 0-3 teams that are out there right now, that the Steelers probably have the best chance of bouncing back to a significant degree. Do I think they're going to make the postseason? I mean, that's a little bit questionable.
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to have a winning season? Also questionable. These other teams, I mean, you never know. But I think that the Steelers, I would say the Steelers and closely the Giants, almost a close tie. I think those two teams have a good chance of coming back.
I'll agree with you with the Steelers.
Oh, yeah?
I just can't see, the Jaguars, they are a mess of a team right now. The Vikings, I don't know, Christian Ponder is not the type of quarterback who can get them out of this hole. And the Buccaneers, I mean, Josh Freeman, who's supposed to be their guy, he's being benched this weekend in favor of a rookie. So, and with the Giants, I just think until they can protect Manning, I mean, that offensive line is in shambles right now. The Redskins and Steelers, I think, are the two teams who I think will be able to, I can't believe I'm going to go on the record and say this, still have a chance to make the playoffs.
Really?
With the Redskins, RG3 coming off that injury, he does not look the same whatsoever. I even heard he's trying to team up with one of the Nationals players, Bryce Harper, to teach him how to slide properly so he doesn't get injured again.
That's very interesting.
But with Washington's tough schedule, I know that NFC East is wide open right now, so that's the only reason why I would say they still have a chance. And the AFC North, even though the Bengals had an impressive showing against the Packers, I still think that's a wide open division because it's so weak.
Yeah, and they were talking about the Bengals being the quietest, best team in the league, and I don't think that you can make that statement. I mean, I think that the Bengals, they're a powerful team. Do I think they're going to be able to hold it out? I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if they make the playoffs this year, it'll be 3 straight years, but the last 2 times they've lost in the first round. So
yeah.
You have to win a playoff game to be talked about being a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, that's very true. That's absolutely true. All right, I think we're going to go to a break here. It's about 2:40. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins and the rest of the National Hockey League right after this. Sports Buzz. Good afternoon. We are back. This is Sports Buzz with Harry and Mike.
First show.
Woo! We are very excited to get started here. We had a little bit of a difficulty getting started.
Yeah,
but,
a little rough around the edges, but
rough.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll get better. We're gonna have all the bells and whistles by the end. It's gonna be better than Mike and Mike.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely,
wait.
definitely. Okay,
Yeah.
so now I will be bringing you something we'll be doing every week. It is the prime time performers of the week. This is week 3 of the NFL, where we're going to bring you the top 5 performances. Any player, any team. Here we go. Number 5, Greg Hardy for the Carolina Panthers. We were talking about Eli Manning earlier. He had 8 tackles, 3 sacks in this game as Carolina beats the Giants 38-0. Number 4, Antonio Brown. We mentioned his huge game. 9 receptions for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's a ton.
Yeah, it's a ton. But Steelers, though, end up losing the game 40-23 to the Bears. Number 3, Justin Hunter, wide receiver for the Titans. Only had 1 catch this game, but a 34-yard touchdown with 15 seconds left to give them the victory over the San Diego Chargers 20-17. Number 2, Jordan Cameron, who had a huge game for the Cleveland Browns, catching 3 touchdowns for 66 yards on 6 catches. Cleveland upset the Vikings 31-27 in Minnesota.
Yes, they did.
And the number one performer of the week, DeMarco Murray, running back for the Dallas Cowboys. He loves running against St. Louis. 26 carries for 175 yards and a touchdown, and also 3 catches for 28 yards, so that's nice too, as Dallas trumps the St. Louis Rams 31-7. And those are the primetime performers of the week.
A lot of high-scoring games around the NFL these days. I'm seeing games in the 40
I
range.
know.
That's a lot.
A lot different from when we were watching when we were young.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. All right, so we're going to shift over to the ice in the National Hockey League, and the Penguins just finishing up their preseason game against Detroit in Detroit last night. They got the win 5-1. An interesting play by Marc-Andre Fleury lets in a goal. I think that Marc-Andre Fleury thinks he's a little bit. I think he thinks he's Patrick Waugh sometimes. I think he thinks he can just kind of skate out to the middle of the ice when you got like 3 guys breaking for the puck, and Drew Miller just kind of chipped it right over Marc-Andre Fleury's pads and into the goal, and I think Marc-Andre Fleury must have been like 30 feet from the goal.
Okay.
So it was very interesting goal, but they won 5-1, blowout preseason, no big deal. Marc-Andre Fleury probably didn't have too many woes about that, but the woes that he does have linger from last season.
Oh,
and
definitely.
the terrible upset in the conference, I don't know if it was an upset. It was a good matchup, but nevertheless, the shutout. I don't think anyone expected the Pittsburgh Penguins with a team like that, the dream team, to get shut out like that.
I know I didn't.
Yeah. Marc-Andre Fleury getting a sports psychologist. That's the new word on him. How do you think that's going to improve his psyche this season?
I think it's going to help. I know that. He didn't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah.
Obviously, why would you?
Why would you?
But he said, though, the one thing he said was that they were focusing primarily on what his rituals are and routines are before he goes into the net. So, like maybe an hour before the game, 30 minutes before the game.
What's that? Like how many times he hits the crossbar? I don't know.
I
How does that
guess.
play into that at all?
I don't know. He just got to get his psyche ready, I guess, because those playoff games, especially in the Islanders series, just some of the goals he were letting in, it's just they're too soft.
Absolutely too soft. And it is preseason, but I have to say that some of the goals that he let in during preseason I thought were soft.
Yeah.
And preseason, say what you want about preseason. Say what you want about it. But I think they were soft. And not only that, but we have Thomas Vokoun with a significant injury.
Yeah.
That is going to leave him out for, I'm going to say, a month. That's what you said the other day.
Yeah.
He was going to be
well,
out.
he did get released, though, from the hospital.
Oh, well, that's good news.
Yesterday, but obviously you need to still rest. So
yeah. And we talked about before about Ben Roethlisberger being he should be looked at as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League.
Oh yeah.
Marc-Andre Fleury, I feel, should be the same thing. He should be looked at as top 5 one of the top 5 goaltenders in the National Hockey League, and he is not being looked that way because of the way he performs in the playoffs. The last 3 years, I think that. And the big problem being last year, and Thomas Vokoun, he came up big. He came up really, really big.
Oh, yeah.
And we were very, very, very pleased here in Pittsburgh to see him do the things that he did. With regard to goaltending now, because of Vokoun being out, and because of Jeff Zatkoff having such a wonderful preseason, Do you think that he's going to see some ice time?
I think he will. There have been rumors saying that the Penguins might try and go get a goalie out in free agency.
Yeah, they were saying that.
Johan Hedberg was just cut by the Rangers, but with the Penguins cap situation right now, I don't think they're going to have enough money to go out and get one.
Yeah.
So Zatkoff, I was looking at his numbers. He spent a lot of time in the AHL, and 78 wins. That's pretty good amount of wins there. 242 goals against average. Can't complain about that.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
pretty good.
The .915 save percentage was the big number that caught my eye. So it's just a matter of whether he'll be able to...
He had a .915 save percentage.
In his career, in the AHL. So
that is pretty amazing for a rookie goaltender. So you got so we have this new rivalry coming up with the Penguins and the Blue Jackets, who have been annexed to what they're calling the Metropolitan Division.
Such a bad name.
I don't know where they get this stuff. I really don't. But I had the pleasure of being at the preseason game where the Penguins lost in the third period 4-3. I believe it was 4-3. But Jussi Jokinen comes up huge and buries all three of those goals. How huge do you think Jussi Jokinen is going to be for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year?
I think when they got him last year, obviously he didn't see much playing time toward the end of the year, especially in the playoffs, but I just think he's one of those versatile players you can throw in on the third or even fourth line. He's a good penalty killer, and he has some good, fancy moves that he pulls off when if you stick him on the power play. So I think he can be effective in pretty much every facet of the game.
Yeah, he's going to be sick. I absolutely agree. I think that we basically got him for free from Carolina. I think the deal was if we make it to the Stanley Cup, Carolina gets a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
And if we didn't, they get a 7th round pick. I don't know how Ray Shero made that deal. I don't know how he does it.
He's a tactician.
He's the guy. He's the kind of guy who at lunch in 3rd grade would trade you his celery sticks for a Go-Gurt, Gushers, and the peanut butter jelly sandwich all in one go. He's the guy who won all the marbles when he was a kid on the playground. Absolutely. So we have the backup goalie situation. We have the Blue Jackets and the Penguins starting a rivalry.
Right.
Now they're going to play 6 games.
Yeah.
They're going to play 6 games this season against each other. A team that was in a Columbus team that was in the Western Conference that has seen a complete overhaul. Yeah. I'd like to think of it as I've made a fool of myself this last year rather, calling the Columbus Blue Jackets the new New York Rangers because of that trade they made with Rick Nash.
Right. And
they basically are running all salvos with the members of that New York Rangers team, and they are good.
Yeah, Gaborik, Dubinsky,
Anisimov,
yep.
and they absolutely have a chance to be competitive this year, which is so interesting. A team coming out of the Western Conference. I don't know how you put a Columbus, Ohio team in the Western Conference.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny to me. But they made the National Hockey League made their changes with this Metropolitan Division. I still don't like that name, but I think that the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to have a really good chance to be competitive this year. How do you think that the Penguins are going to fare up against them?
I probably not as strong as you are of thinking that they're going to be the new rivalry with the Penguins, but I mean they barely missed out on the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they were close.
I don't know. I just with the other teams in that division, I don't know how they're going to stack up against them playing them so many times. The Flyers, the Devils, they play a more rugged style game, and I think in the West it's more about the scoring.
Yeah,
and in the East it was the defense.
That's a good call to make. And you talk about the Flyers. The Flyers, everyone in Pittsburgh was happy to see that the Flyers didn't even make the playoffs last year. Now, had that season gone 82 games, I'm saying that Philadelphia Flyers team turns it around.
Yeah.
I absolutely think they make the 8th seed, maybe even the 7th or 6th seed. I mean, they maybe not the 6th seed.
Yeah.
But but they absolutely could have turned it around, and they do play it's definitely a rougher game in the East.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sidney Crosby quoted saying in the Post-Gazette today, I believe I saw, that he's very thrilled with his line mates, and
it's the best line in hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. Pascal Dupuis, Chris Kunitz. How do you think Chris Kunitz has been?
He's just been, when they got him in 2009, he's been consistent every year. He hasn't had a year where he's dropped off.
Absolutely,
production-wise.
And for that matter, Pascal Dupuis.
Oh, what a year he had last year. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the guy's he's pushing 40 almost.
He's like a fine wine.
Yeah.
He gets better with age. Absolutely, he just gets good. And and quite the prankster, too. We were actually just at a Root Sports seminar in which we got a chance to see Rob King and Dan Potash in the flesh, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they showed this montage of video where just Pascal Dupuis just giving it to Dan Potash. And what an atmosphere that must be in your locker room to have Dan Potash, to have your media guy interacting with players like that. And it just always looks like they're having a blast in that.
Yeah.
In that locker room. And that's a good atmosphere that you want.
Yeah.
Now, James Neal and Evgeny Malkin need a left winger.
I think Bo Bennett.
I think
he's ready.
I think Bo Bennett's going to be good. I think that now a lot of my hockey buddies are going to disagree with me. I think that the fact that Bo Bennett scored that humongous goal in that Islanders series last year,
Yes.
that opened up the floodgates for the Penguins to win that series.
Yeah.
I think that was the big goal they needed from their rookie player, and I think that Bo Bennett is ready.
Yeah, the BB gun. That's my nickname for him.
I like that a lot, the BB gun. He is a gun indeed. So we are going to be taking a look here at the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup predictions.
Never too early.
Never too early to make predictions about the Stanley Cup. We're wrapping up preseason. Everybody's excited for the Penguin season to start. What are we thinking about the Stanley Cup this year?
Well, I don't want to sound like a homer, but I'm going to go with the Penguins.
Okay.
I just think, because if they don't make it, who knows, Bilesma could be fired.
I thought he was going to get the boot last year.
Yeah.
I really did. But I think Dan Bilesma, I think they made a good addition with that New Jersey Devils guy they brought in. I'm not going to remember his name off the top of my head, but
Matt D'Agostino?
Him. Yeah. I think they made an excellent addition to him to the coaching staff, and I think he's going to be good. And you mentioned Johan Hedberg before, and I'm kind of making the connection out with the New Jersey Devils. How interesting and how hilarious would it be if we picked up Johan Hedberg? I mean, long shot.
Yeah, the Moose coming back.
The Moose coming back to the Berg. That would be very interesting. So you're going with the Penguins. The Chicago Blackhawks, they had the best season early on.
Yeah.
And the record-breaking season. I think, everybody kind of thought they were going to win the Cup. I thought it was one of those things where they weren't going to last, but they proved me wrong. And I don't know if they can repeat, because, like I said, it was a shortened season last year. It was kind of a race to the playoffs. I don't know if I can make a prediction just yet.
Okay,
I gotta put the brakes on this one. I think that it's an interesting move by the Vancouver Canucks to hire John Tortorella, and I know they went to the Cup in 2011 and blew it with the Boston Bruins. The Vancouver Canucks were so much better than the Boston Bruins that year.
Yeah, they were.
And it was that hit on I'm not going to remember his name either, but they one of the Vancouver Canuck players was coming. It was Nathan Horton. The hit on Horton. I think it was Sammy Sallow. I could be wrong on that, but Sammy Sallow just trucked into Nathan Horton and put him out for the rest of the playoffs, and that's just enough to get your team fired up. So interesting to see what Tortorella is going to do for the Vancouver Canucks. But hey, I hope